Um, I'd, like to call the roll. Rivers,
All Rivers present.
Morales,
Ricardo Morales is present.
Jim Portman,
Jim Gormley is present.
Nellie Hutt, and, we have a quorum.
Ms.
No?
Williams.
Oh, she's online, I'm sorry. Miss Wiley, where is she? She up there? Miss
I
Wiley?
am Arnetta Wire.
Okay.
present.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm
Can you
sorry.
hear me?
Well, no, she's muted.
She's not muted.
Oh, we can't hear her.
I can't hear her.
You
Oh,
can't
we'll
hear
just
me?
wait until we get that together for a minute.
You still can't hear me?
Can you hear? No, we can't hear you. I don't know why.
She turned it down on the. No, I'm full sound.
Still no?
I don't know. Seconds.
Can you hear us?
Sorry, wait 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Here's the volume, it's now. Thank you for patience. Okay. See you guys.
You don't have a
Okay.
Can we check to see if we could hear her?
Can you hear us, Miss Wire?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can. Okay, we're good to go.
Perfect.
Thank you. Um. All right, so we have the roll call. Need to approve the minutes from October 11th. For those of you who haven't had a chance, can you just take a minute or two to take a look at the minutes? And I would ask that you, if you have substantive changes, please share. If they're ministerial or, grammatical, if you can just send those comments to Ms. Kinsler, and then we can save some time.
I'm not sure,
Yes.
I'm not sure if anybody's gonna have any edits, but I just wanted to, just for the record, to Ms. Kinsler, that the minutes, they were really good. I thought that you did a great job with the minutes.
Thank you. She works really hard. Thank you.
I move to approve the minutes.
I second, unless there's, I'm sorry, did I say it too fast? I second. Thank you. Thank you. We go to a vote. If there's no objections or other considerations, we can vote. Okay. Rivers,
Improvement, yeah.
Jim,
Approved.
and Ms. Wire?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna have a presentation of the draft SCC legislation. Thank you.
Good evening. So my name is John Peterson, and with me is Michelle Bailey Hedgepath. We're Assistant Chief Administrative Officers with Howard County Department of Administration. We're going to be working with the Office of the County Executive and the Office of Law to work on some draft legislation for the to codify the appointments for the Administrative Charging Committee. So next slide. So what we're going to present tonight is an overview of what's going to be pre-filed or introduced to the council at the end of December for consideration in January's legislation. We're asking that the PAB provide formal comments back to us so we can take those under advisement for legislation. And we're hoping that the board will be able to provide formal comments by November 9th. We'll be providing an actual legislative draft. So what we're providing today is really an outline, but we'll be providing a legislative draft to all the members of the PAB, hopefully within the next week. And then any comments can go to Ms. Kinsler, but the formal comments should come from the board. We should get a formal set of comments from the board to take under advisement. Next slide, please. So we're going to first talk about the changes. We're going to codify the language in the county code for the Administrative Charging Committee. Next slide, please. Most of what we're codifying actually exists in either the state law or in the Code of Maryland regulations that were promulgated by the City Training Commission. So first is membership, what the membership of the ACC consists of. And as you probably know, it's the chair of the Police Accountability Board or another member designated by the board, two civilian members appointed by the Police Accountability Board, and 2 civilians appointed by the county executive. We are codifying that the position will have to be advertised for 30 days prior to the position being open. And then the qualifications that we're listing for membership come straight from the COMAR regulations, be at least 21, be a legal resident, be a Howard County resident, reflect the racial, gender identity, sexual orientation, and cultural diversity of Howard County, and then also demonstrate the thorough professional lived experience or the ability to balance effective oversight, perform objective analysis of investigative report, and practice procedural fairness. So those are really kind of the criteria that'll set the framework for membership. Meeting, training, terms, and vacancies. So as you know, members of the Administrative Charging Committee must attend training. The meetings will be held at least once a month or more if needed. They'll have to attend the training provided by the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission. And then the terms of office, we're proposing that each member serve a 3-year terms with no more than 2 consecutive terms. And then a member filled to appointed vacancy would fill the end of that existing term. Vacancies will be filled in the same manner as the original appointment, again, meaning they were advertised, posted, and then appointed. So if there were a vacancy from the PAB would then appoint that member. If there were a vacancy from the county exec's appointment, the county exec would make that appointment. Staffing resources and expenses. Again, staffing would be provided by the Chief Administrative Officer's office under county administration. And then also expenses would be provided for training, for mileage, and other expenses directly related to the duties of the committee. The duties of the ACC, again, come straight from the state code. I'm not going to go over all the duties as they're already in the code. We're just really codifying that in our legislation. It's not in the county legislation, it's in the state legislation. And again, same duties as enumerated in the state code. And then investigations, confidentiality, disclosure. We're making it clear that an appointee will have a background investigation. They'll be subject to the confidentiality and ethics and financial disclosure terms that the Police Accountability Board is. And the same notification of appointments will notify on the county website each appointment as it's made to the charging committee. Removal of an ACC member. So this is something that's not in the county code right now. But if a member were to be removed, we're proposing that a member could be removed for any of the following reasons: conflict of interest, criminal charges, criminal investigation, and convictions. And that members should be providing this information to the county. Also, if a member fails to attend 3 meetings in a row without notice, they may be removed. In the county code currently, there's a provision for removing somebody from a board or commission. It takes the county executive to propose and the council to remove. So the person would actually have a hearing before the council, and that's the number D, that any removal would be subject to process in the Howard County Code. And of course, a member could choose to resign, and they can resign by notifying the county executive and the chair in writing. Next slide. Next, Michelle will talk about the trial boards.
Thanks, John. So we tried to do a tag team on this so that we could kind of, the trial boards are similar to the ACC. What we wanted to do is kind of lay out some of the issues with the, next slide please, with the appointments and training of the trial board members. The trial board members have, the PAB will appoint 1 civilian member of a trial board. I think this is something that we've kind of talked about But the training for the trial board will be administered by the Maryland Police and Training Commission. Right now, it's about 16 hours for trial boards. Each person we're proposing in the legislation will serve 3 years. A member must not serve more than 2 successive terms. And then we also are doing that, we do the vacancies filled by the same manner as the appointment. So for the trial board, since the administrative judge is appointed by the county executive, and the police appoint one member of the trial board as a police officer of equal rank, the civilian would then be appointed by the PAB. Next slide, please.
Excuse me,
Mhm.
may I ask a question or you want me to?
No, go ahead.
finish? Okay, on the 16 hours, do you know if is that like 2 consecutive 8-hour days?
Yeah.
Or,
I think so. I
It
think that's
is?
what it said.
That's what, yeah, I think that's what they're saying right now. It's 2 8-hour days.
Okay.
But, well, they're kind of coming out, and that's a part of Ms. Kinsler's report, is that there are some proposed dates from Maryland Training
Okay.
Academy, so they are starting to come up with some dates.
okay, I have one other question.
No problem.
On the appointments, the PAB will appoint civilian members of the child board. It's my understanding that the chair can participate on one or the other, ACC or.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a good point, Madam Chair. So if you elect to not be on the ACC, then you're right, then the civilian member would be appointed. And what we're also dealing with is the ability for you to have a second, possibly in this legislation, which I'll get to at the end, that may be a possibility of having an alternate. Because because I think the thing about it is that this may be difficult with trial boards, that you may need an alternate since the one civilian member, so you might want a secondary civilian member, and that's something that's been sort of recommended. So to kind of pre-answer that issue as well, that's what we're also looking at. Okay, so investigations, confidentiality, disclosures, and notice of appointments. What we've done is tried to make these two in our initial outline to you. They weren't parity, so we've added this parity to this section for trial boards. So we're asking the trial board members to also submit investigations, have the confidentiality agreements of the ACC, and then also do the ethics disclosure. And then also the county will announce their appointments on the website. We're not sure if that's the one thing that legal is still reviewing everything, but these are the ideas that we're still looking at for it. So we want to make sure that we can give you as much information as we have at this point. So that's that.
If I could just ask a question on the confidentiality provision that's been proposed for the trial board. I think the state legislation's got a defined list of items that the trial board, in conducting a public hearing or a public trial.
And I'm actually going to go through that with you. So that's next to you. You're beating me there. So let's get to that one.
Okay.
That'll probably be 2 to 3 more slides in.
Thank you.
So for what we also wanted to deal with, next slide, please, is the removal of a trial board member. So we wanted to put some language in on this, which is any member that fails confidentiality matters, members, again, this whole self-reporting as the ACC, and then a member may resign from a trial board, and I think there needs to be a space there at any time by notifying their appointing authority in writing. So if it's the police department, they have to notify the chief. It's the county executive, it's that administrative law judge, they have to notify them. If it's your civilian, they'd have to notify you. So that's that removal. We didn't have that in our initial draft, and we kind of added that, and that's what we're going to have legal to take a look at. So when we add into the final legislation. Next,
Excuse me, sorry, one other question.
sure.
On the confidentiality, the language is maintain confidentiality on all matters. I know what that means because of my background.
Right.
But I guess you'll get trained, that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
and we also will, and that also is subject to legal review
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
So that's our proposed language at this point.
Yeah.
And so that we're gonna, so when
I'm good.
the board will see it again too.
Mhm.
Okay, so trial board composition, next one. So each law enforcement agency, again, we wanted to kind of hammer this in. You've got the actively serving or the retired administrative law judge. You have a civilian, who's not a member of the charging committee and appointed by the PAB. So in this case, as the chair, if you are serving as on the charging committee, you wouldn't be able to be on a trial board, and any other civilian who is assigned to the ACC cannot be assigned to a trial board. So that's one thing that you have to, and then a police officer of equal rank is also that, again, in that trial board composition. Next slide.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I was reading this, so if I'm reading this correctly, the trial board, for all intents and purposes, needs to be an attorney. It needs to be on the trial board, is what it says. It says actively serving as a retired administrative law judge
That is
or
the,
retiring judge.
that's the only one person has to be a law judge or administrative, or an administrative law judge or an attorney. That's one position.
That's appointed by the executive.
That's exactly.
That's the executive appointment.
Oh,
Your
okay,
appointment is a civilian.
okay.
So, but again, I'm just trying to make sure that you guys, so you have the full realm to say, well, when we're selecting a person, do they need to be an attorney? They don't have to be, it just can be a civilian. And then you know that you already have a police officer of equal rank from that same, which is the way the trial boards are currently exist.
Right.
To an extent.
As long as I could ask you a quick question on that one, and actually this is just, it's a question that I have no idea what the answer is, and it's sort of something I had from the legislation itself.
Mhm.
So we have a trial board that's appointed, there's a 3-year term, so, we have the trial board constituted, and yet the police officer on that board needs to be of equal rank to the officer who's being investigated. How does that work? That feels like you dial it up, you dial it down.
The civilian member is appointed for a 3-year term.
Correct.
So the administrative law judge is appointed by the exec, the police officer is appointed by the chief,
Correct.
and those will be appointed.
At the time of the,
On a rolling, on an as-needed basis.
as a basis.
For the civilian, we need at least one civilian appointed and ready.
And that's the reason why we're adding the idea of perhaps a alternate, because of the fact that you may need that alternate if there's several trial boards at once.
That feels like a very good solution, not found in the state statute, I don't think. You guys, I think, are just trying to make it work.
Well, trial boards as they exist now, do have that feature, is that you always have you have officers, the chief will do that appointment. That doesn't change in this process.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Okay, so then the next one is that actively serving retired judge, law judge, they are known as the chair of the trial board. They'll be responsible for ruling on all motions for the trial board, and they prepare written decisions of the trial board, including the findings, conclusions, and recommendations. That's consistent with state law, and that's consistent with any kind of, let's say, the current process that trial boards have.
I have another question. Will administrative help and so forth be assigned to the trial board? Because it said that.
So that's interesting, because the administrative person, we will be there if as needed, but that's actually the police, that'll be a police function, because they actually run the trial board.
Okay, all right, so the written decision and so forth.
Will come from the administrative law judge, yeah, and so that's their process after it gets through us, but the only thing we do is appoint.
Okay.
All right, so then, exceptions, next slide, Barb. Exceptions to open proceedings. Again, we wanted to make sure that we put this in the rules, is that there are proceedings that are open to the public except for the victim's identity, personal privacy of the individual, a child witness, medical records, the identity of the confidential source, investigative techniques or procedures, and the life or physical safety of an individual. Those are the things that are exceptions to the open procedures. Otherwise, this is an open hearing, a public meeting.
To your point, these are the things that would need to be kept confidential.
These are the things that need to be kept confidential.
Because everything else will be an open hearing.
Yeah, I think that strikes me as the answer to my question, but just let me clarify there. So on 15, we say confidentiality. Each member of the trial board must maintain confidentiality relating to a matter being considered by the committee. But then I think what you're saying is it's these items that need to be kept confidential.
And to be clear, what we're providing here is an outline. It'll come in draft legislative form for you soon, so you'll actually see.
That's okay. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay. So then the last one is that a trial board, these are the other things that the trial board, next slide, is that a trial board administers oaths. They are able to subpoena. The complainant shall be notified by the trial board of a hearing, except for in subsection D, which is the issues that I mentioned on that, things that are not an open meeting. Within 30 days they will issue a decision So it'll be then, it can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Howard County by the police officer. A trial board decision is final unless it's appealed. And then each of the members of the trial board must make a confidentiality again related to the information of the board, and then members will be reimbursed for appropriate mileage and other expenses related to their duties as members of the board. So that's where the last one is. So on my last slide, and which is, we're gonna do that, are things to consider with both the ACC and the trial board. Additional qualifications, which has been mentioned by this board. The ACC and trial board terms, we've given some opinions on 3 years to sort of keep them, and we've chosen that number. The trial board selection, whether or not you can have more than one civilian member in reserve, we don't know that for sure, but was something that was suggested. And then whether or not you want to stagger the terms of the ACC appointments. I think otherwise we answered, there's this idea of having pools of training for the ACC and trial board participants, like having people that are trained but they're not appointed so that they could come up. We can, at this point, what I understand from Maryland's is that they want to train all the people actually assigned first, and then they would do any alternate training. So they want to know that people have been actually assigned at this point, but we can look that up. So those are things that have been sent to us, but we wanted to bring those up for the board to consider while you all are making some, while you're taking a look at this. And again, as John mentioned, we will send you all copies of the the draft legislation in the legislative format versus it being in our outline format. So you can actually see how that council bill will look, so that you can make your opinions as the board and have one, so if there are recommendations from the board as a whole, we'd like to be able to take those, and we will always take public comments.
My quick question.
Uh-huh.
I noticed that the trial board has, and the ACC have a set number of individuals they want on. Are other counties in the same situation? Because I noticed when I'm reading on some of the readings that some of the counties have twice as many members as we do on both PAB, the ACC, and the trial board. So I'm just curious if we're set ours based on our population, or are we basing it on something else?
So the PAB is more open to how each county wants to set it. The trial boards are set by state law for sure. And I thought the ACC was set by state law as well.
Right.
But the PAB can be as broad as each county wants it to be. But the state law describes the makeup of both the ACC and the trial board.
And the other, and because when you're looking at some other entities, they may have cities within their jurisdiction. We don't, and so if we had, for example, if Howard County, the college had a side of the police, we'd have one more jurisdiction. Some have 5 and 6 jurisdictions. They are, and they have representatives from those jurisdictions on the PAB.
Okay, let me be a little bit more specific. I guess I was saying is, what I've seen, because of what you said, having alternates for either the ACC or the trial board, is there a possibility to set up 2 distinguished ACC boards or 2 trial boards in the event that you have them, and just alternate back and forth on which ones you use?
I think that's one of the things that we're asking for.
Right, so you have to appoint somebody to a trial board, like
Right.
one person to a trial board. We envision you could have a pool of people, and then at each trial board, each trial, you could appoint a new person. So you could have, 3 people or something appointed to a term, so that at each trial board, you could choose between them. We know at least in one other county, their idea is to have kind of like as many as 5 to 7, and then have a randomizer to pick who goes, with each one to the trial board. But really, if you're only having 1 trial board or 2 trial boards a year, do you need 7 people?
Right, and I understand that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, if you had, and I didn't say 7, I just meant an extra
Yeah.
on each one, that you can rotate in and out, because in case somebody, like you said, something could happen, you get tied up in something, you have to go away from something, and you don't have anybody else ready to go, now you have a problem. So if you had alternates, or even somebody who takes and not hope, God forbid, never happens here, but you get somebody on the trial board or on the ACC who this is traumatic to them, or they're affected by it, and you don't have anybody else to put in that position, you find yourself in a dilemma.
Right.
So-
The HCC has 5, so the quorum would be 3, so you always have to have 3 available. So if one fell off, you could still have, conduct the,
Yeah.
the review with up to, to 3, 'cause that's the quorum. But the structure of the ACC is set at 5. You could have, no, the ACC is 2 appointments
Oh,
by
okay, I'm sorry.
your board, 2 appointments by the exec, and
the
then
chair
yourself
will be the
or,
chair,
yeah.
or your designee.
So that's set. But you could have alternates, but they'd still have to then be, they'd have to be
Trained.
appointed, well, trained and
And
appointed
appointed.
to replace somebody. So you can't have 6 on the ACC in the case that, one of the 5 isn't available. You can have a 6 trained in case that one goes away, and then you can appoint that person.
I see.
Just point of order real quick. I know that Ms. Wire is
Yeah, I'm sorry.
is virtually. And the last time we've said that the technical folks, because I think you can see her better than we can, if you can just alert the chair, that if she puts her hands up, and I don't know if you guys are willing to do that, but just some way for us to know that.
Make sure.
she's-
Thank you for that observation. Ms. Wire, let me do this now. Do you have anything to add? Thank you.
I do not. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, well, just jump in, because you're on a little small screen, so.
Oh, you can take down our PowerPoint so that we can see Ms. Wire better. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
very
thank
good.
Not a
you.
problem. Unless, only if that was your last slide. Was that your last
That
slide?
Yeah,
That
it
was the
was.
last slide. We tried to keep ours quick, Ms. Wire, so just trying
Thank
to.
you. I appreciate it.
So we can see you now,
Yes,
thank
and
you.
and Ms. Wire, you did receive a copy and email from Kiana? Perfect. So we're good.
Look, can I, follow up this on, what Mr. Rivers was saying, because I think this is a great idea. Emergent things happen, and we don't ever want to be in a position where we can't function. Even, I know it's 3 is a quorum, but what if 2 are not available? I think it's a good idea to have an alternative, and I don't know how that's impacted in the legislation, but I'm kind of uncomfortable with in a situation where we only have the 5 and 3 are, but I'm just trying to, at least we need 1 more person, and I guess that would be trained and not appointed because of the legislation.
God bless you.
Bless you.
But if we're in a situation where we need to appoint another person, that person is already trained.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll be working with the
Okay.
Maryland Training Council about because I think Kiana's going to be providing you a recent email, which I think is going to be part of her report that they sent that says they've listed out dates for the new year in 2023.
Okay.
They're asking for locations. We would be happy to host a location for the training. We just need to know from you, once you guys get through some of your appointments and other work, then we can say, yes, we'll be able to, and then that way we can be able to say, we can provide maybe more capacity for them for training. Because that's really, I think, what their issue is capacity and space.
Sounds good to me.
Just one question in terms of your current thinking on potential for salaries for ACC members. You'll know, I think, that Montgomery County has indeed passed legislation to provide for a salary for these important positions with a lot of time commitment, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, what's your thinking to date on the idea of salary?
We're not currently proposing a salary. We're certainly open to the council or, if that's a recommendation of the board comes to us. But right now in county administration, we're not proposing a salary. The county executive's office may choose to do that as well. But as our work in the county administration, bringing this forward, we're not proposing a salary.
And at this point, we also would see that there may not be, even though they might have monthly meetings, there may not be the workload until the CBA, to the collective bargaining agreement for the police department is
Right.
until 2023, 24. So they may meet and they may, they do have the ability to meet virtually. And so that we may able, if there aren't cases, then they'll have to meet and then adjourn.
It's a very good point. It
So
may be a lot lighter load, at least.
Exactly. It might just be their training. So I just wanted to bring up that as a practical issue for that first year, that it might not be as onerous the first year for that, because they only deal with cases.
And we have, Howard County Police, Howard County Sheriff, and some of these other jurisdictions have multiple municipalities under them that then, so they're going to be very busy.
The difference between Montgomery County and ourselves is what they have at least four of them. They have Rockville, Gaithersburg, Kokomo Park, and I believe they also have a college that they also have to have in theirs, which we do not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have no more questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we're gone.
Wait a minute, I got no this.
Okay. Next on the agenda, selection of the meeting date for the public hearing.
On the, staff report at the bottom, number 5. Yeah.
So you're gonna talk?
I mean,
Okay, yeah, no, I think it's properly included
Yeah.
in the report. No, go right ahead, it's fine, just below.
All right, but you want me to start with that, or you want me to go straight to one? You want me to start with this first, since it's on there? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so on number 5 of the,
Where are you?
the administrative memo,
Okay.
on number 5, so the rules of procedure that you all adopted, at the last meeting, there's 2 dates for a possible public hearing, at least a form has to be there. There'll be agenda item and agenda item on this so that we can set the date, which is now. Oh, you don't have one?
We don't have, I don't have.
Sorry.
Copy of the rules of procedure?
No.
It's the administrative memo?
Okay, no.
Ms. Wire, you have one, yes?
Is this revised or this what you sent me earlier?
It's called administrative memo.
Yeah, this is the correct one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, the 2 dates that were proposed is November the 30th and December the 6th. Keep in mind that y'all do have a meeting on December the 7th.
It's Thanksgiving.
The 24th.
Okay, so we're a week past Thanksgiving.
Just a
Yeah.
quick, touch up on Herman, his wife is at the hospital, possibly broken arm or dislocated shoulder.
Okay.
Telling me you
We're
should.
telling we're thinking about that.
Yeah.
So. Um. Does anyone else want to speak first or have any thoughts? Okay, my preference is for November 30th. And the reason is because we do have a December 7th meeting. And I think, at least I need a few days to kind of,
Revamp.
kind of like, like after the public hearing, I want to be able to kind of figure out, and I don't want to go right into our meeting, having had the public hearing the day before. I think that's too much. That's my suggestion.
I'd agree with that, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
What day do you-
Everybody else weighs in. November 30th,
And when is our meeting?
our meeting is December 7th.
Yeah, so it'd be the following week.
So we would have a week to digest and
Yeah, but
kind of get our thoughts together. Mr. Morales, would that work for you? Well, what
Yeah,
did you
no,
think
I-
about,
I-
what you think about, and I go to Miss Wire?
Okay.
Okay, Miss Wire, what about you?
Yes, November the 30th.
Okay, thank you.
And that's fine. I prefer that to the 6th.
Okay,
And those are the only days we have available, we can go, and we rather not go further out than that.
So, the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act, requires 30 days notice
Mhm.
to the public about the hearing.
Mhm.
So we have to plan and that hearing date has to be in the ad that goes in the newspaper.
Mhm.
So we just have to plan it such that it's far out in advance that we could get the ad in at least 30 days before the public hearing and advertise that date. And then the other issue that you all have is that you really need rules of procedure in place, and they can't go in place or adopted, formally adopted by the board until you've had the public hearing. So with the holidays coming up, it's probably, that those are the considerations.
Okay.
So we're okay for the.
So November 30th.
Okay.
So with that, then, and so if, what day is the 30th?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
If that's a Wednesday, so so the APA requires advertisement in 2 papers. I called the Baltimore Sun last week, or after the last meeting, and the Baltimore Sun said they could run it in the Sun and the Howard County Times, which is great, yeah.
Okay, good.
So, but the public agency deadline, we have to get it in, for the Howard County Times, it's the Monday before, so the Howard County Times only comes out every Thursday. So the ad would have to be submitted to them Monday by like 1 PM for that following Thursday advertisement. And then, for the Baltimore Sun, you only have to give it to them the day before. So we basically say, so if you all decide for the November 30th, 30 days prior to that would be next, October 30th. So we could try, and we submit it Monday, it'll be published by the 27th to give like 30 days plus a few days for cushion.
Is there any reason why we can't do that?
We can, yeah, we can. So that'd be my recommendation, is to get it to the Sun by October 24th. Then it'd be published Thursday, October 27th in both the Howard County Times and the Baltimore Sun. And then that would cover us for, and I'm sure it's, let me just confirm that.
So is it going to be the ad going in it like every day?
I'm sorry.
Is the ad going to be?
No, it's just that,
Okay.
it's just that one day.
Okay.
And it tells the public on, Wednesday, November 30th, this public hearing will be had.
Okay.
And so the ad, I have drafted the ad already. I think, Gary's gonna review it. But that ad, we stated in that ad that we will, post a copy of the proposed rules for adoption on the website so that the public could go look at it in advance of the hearing.
You guys?
And I think as Ms. Wyatt had mentioned last week, is it possible for us to take a look at the ad?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ad was drafted, it's very short. It was just drafted based on the Administrative Procedures Act. I adopted language like directly from the ad, and then I summarized like what the rule topics are, but we will send it out. So let's, Yana, can you make it a note? We'll send it out by, really, I could do it by like Thursday. I'm just waiting for, approval for someone to look over it. We always have at least 2 people.
So you're gonna say Friday, this was.
Yeah, I'll try to get it to you all by Thursday.
Okay.
And if you have any comments, they should come directly to me. It's absolutely necessary.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
don't
like-
think there's gonna be, I just wanna know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it is that's going on. from the district,
Yeah.
so.
And so I just confirmed the code, language is at least 30 days. So the fact that we have a few extra days in addition to 30 is fine. But we'll aim to get the ad posted by Monday. And submitted to Baltimore Sun Monday for publication next Thursday, the 27th.
And my question on the conduct of that meeting is, the PAB is essentially receiving comments. And the public has an opportunity within a set time limit to provide comments.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so it lasts as long as the folks who've signed up, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, you're inviting members of the public to come and provide comment on the proposed rules.
All right, we good. All right, now I'm going to do the rest of the staff report. So the letter to the training commission, no response yet, but I did give you all the dates that they had set out for the training for ACC. The draft ACC legislation, y'all just got the presentation on that. So an opportunity for the formalized comments will take place at the November 9th meeting, and then we'll go from there with that. I attached, number 3 is the annual draft report. I did a outline it so that Mr. Gormley, I gave you all both. So my things pretty much, I surveyed the other jurisdictions, and some of them are starting their reports, which will include an outline of the formation, membership, information, meeting overview, actions, rules and development presentations, a tally of the complaints and inquiries, and prospective items for consideration as the board moves forward in 2023. The prospective items include outreach and law enforcement trends evaluation. In addition, according to the public safety, what is that article? Okay, the board is also responsible for identifying any trends within the disciplinary process and make any recommendations on changes to that policy that will improve police accountability. Given that this is a partial year of operation, many of the other jurisdictions will submit abbreviated reports. Number 4, go ahead.
May I, on the, thank you, Mr. Gormley, for your, suggested, outline and so forth. And Kian, thank you. It looks like you've basically tracked what other jurisdictions have done.
Correct.
And I think that's important overall because we want to be consistent. We want to be at least as thorough. And we don't want to be in a position where they have identified something and commented and so forth, and we have not. So thank you, Kiana, for reaching out to make sure that we are at least consistent. And I want to invite all of the members to take a look at this very carefully, and also take a look at Mr. Gormley's comments and so forth, and add your own. This is, as we started off, this is a team effort. One voice is any louder than the other. So as we move forward, just kind of get your thoughts, put them in writing, and let's consider everyone here.
Nellie, could I add to that?
Absolutely.
We're talking about,
Absolutely.
you know, a process for collaborating and getting to the final report. And sort of my idea was that we could benefit from like a sleeves rolled up session where we're just all together working through Kiana's inputs, my inputs, and the inputs from any other member. So that would be my suggestion, essentially, that I'm also conscious of the fact that we've got things piling up everywhere for us at the moment with a lot of work to do, which also suggests to me that we probably need to schedule a November get together where some or all of us might get together and, as I say, roll our sleeves up and just look at the various versions, integrate them, reconcile them, isolate, identify whether there are any differences that would need to be voted on by the board, as a way to get us to, let's say, a December meeting where we finalize and vote on the report. That's sort of my idea. And it feels like we need that, to me anyway, a collaborative session where we just put all the inputs together and produce a version of the report, as I say, isolating any differences that need to be worked through and voted on.
Well, thank you for the suggestion. I am very conscious of time constraints, and some of us may have a little more time than others. So for right now, I'd like to stick with the agreed upon plan.
Yeah.
If you have comments on anything, and as Kiana receives them, she will distribute them just like she did Mr. Gormley. So take a look at his, take a look at mine, if I, and so forth. I'm a little hesitant to request a meeting. I think it would be good if we need it. I'm not so certain that we need it right now.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion. So as we move forward, if the body thinks that we can be more effective by meeting, then we will do that. I just think right now, as we gather the comments, I think we need to gather the comments first, take a look at them, and just see if we can work through them without the meeting. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, and as I stated before at the last meeting, I just wanted to have everything in by November the 1st, so by the time we do have the November 9th meeting, I'll be able to put everything together.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Okay, we went over 5,
Mhm.
and number 6 is a quarterly complaint report. Ms. Wire, you're probably gonna have to come and get your folder.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry,
Just what-
these that I'm about to give out for number 6. Just take one and pass it.
Are those the applications?
No,
Oh, sorry.
just don't open it.
Okay, don't do
Yeah.
that. Okay.
I'm sorry. In the file,
okay.
that has been given to everyone, you all have a summary of the complaints that have been received by the PAB to date. And,
I'm sorry, we have those already?
oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
But you said don't open it.
Yeah, no,
I won't open.
Don't open. Now, now,
yes, sure.
how is Miss Wiley gonna get hers?
I can encrypt it.
Okay,
And
all
I'll
right.
send it to you, if you give me one, I'll encrypt it, send it to you.
Okay.
Next minute.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, I'm trying to follow, why don't open them? What's the procedure on that?
You can open, they can open, I'm, so she needs to get hers. Ms. Meyer, I will encrypt this and send this to you right now.
Oh.
You can explain to them what it is.
Okay, so it's all of the information from the complaints that we have received thus far.
Even the ones that are not under our jurisdiction?
No, these are the ones
Those
that
are-
are
Just under jurisdiction, okay.
unredacted copies. And so I will send, Ms. Ware, I'm going upstairs now, you'll get it in a few, okay?
Those are the ones that the complaints that I read.
Thank you so much.
The first part.
Okay. And then,
Ms. Kinsler, can I just clarify, because I think I heard something that was.
Yes,
Right, I was about to do that.
These are the complaints that came into the PAB, that were received by the PAB, but could not continue for reasons. The PAB could not act on them, and Ms. Kinsler replied to the complainant as such.
So these are not under the board's
Right,
jurisdiction?
that's what I was gonna ask. These are prior to us coming into this.
Correct.
These were filed with the board after the board came into existence, however, the complaints were prior to.
Prior to
They
existence.
could not, and the board could not take action on.
Right.
They couldn't be referred to the ACC. They
Okay.
were referred to the police department, but they could not be referred to the ACC.
Understood. Thank you.
Can I?
No, yeah.
Just on these, because I think on the same, I'm not sure if, a template is being used for these, but is complaint and not compliant? And that's been sent in pretty much
yeah,
every,
I already noticed that. I got it. Yeah, so,
okay, because it was sent on all the other ones as well, and it's on this one as well. So, but as long as you have it,
Yeah.
okay, good. But this is the stuff that, for me, If it's coming out of the board that represents who I am, I'd like to see these before they go out. Or, I don't know what the, QA process is within the office, but it should be looked at by, if not one, two other people before it goes out. I think it shoots our credibility in the foot when we send something out with grammatical errors or spelling. So that's upsetting.
That's good.
So at this point, they haven't come, we don't have any complaint that the board can act. Okay. And I'm sorry, once again, just for clarification, so they came in before the board was,
It's after the board was formed, but the incident occurred before the effective date of the public safety article statutes creating the PAB and ACC process.
okay,
So because these incidents predate that, and section law notes state that the statute applies only prospectively, not retroactively, then these are not within the board's jurisdiction.
okay, and that date is July 1st.
Correct.
Okay.
And that date doesn't even, there's also there's the additional exception that if there's a collective bargaining agreement in place on July 1st, 2022, then the board and ACC's jurisdiction is further pushed along until the expiration date of that collective bargaining agreement, which there was one in place on July 1st, 2022 in Howard County. So even after the July 1st, 2022 date, only cases against lieutenant or above and the Howard County Police Department or the sheriff's office would come within the jurisdiction of the board and ACC process.
Okay, so what is the date, the effective date for police officers within the police department?
What do you mean by that?
That would be July 1, 2023.
Oh, 2023, so next
The
year.
end of their collective.
The end of the collective.
Got it.
So, your question was the end of the collective bargaining?
Right, well, so what is,
Yeah.
yeah, what's the effective date for? Thank you.
So any complaints that come in now would not come to us
Correct,
from the police officers, only lieutenants and above.
correct.
And the
At
sheriff's
office.
department. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And I wonder if I just building on or agreeing with Ricardo, I had made a request a while ago to see the correspondence that had been received by the PAB,
That's fine.
correspondence/complaint. So I very much appreciate having copies of them now and reiterate or agree fully, Ricardo, with your thought that PAB members should see correspondence, communications from the public received by the PAB, and so make that request going forward as well.
This carpet's killing me. It's the carpet. Anyway, let's go. Let's finish. Okay, are we finished with the staff report?
Mhm.
Okay, then. Mr. Rivers, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, we're getting ready to go into closed session for this.
Excellent. See you on next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I think we've come out of closed session, but we've got no other agenda item.
Wait, we need to, so before we go into a closed session, someone needs to move for the closed session, get a second, we need to vote, and we need to state the basis of going into a closed session,
Okay.
which is, did I give you that
ACC.
form?
Yeah.
My question there was, is there any other business before Paul leaves? Future agenda items
Oh.
would be something we discuss typically. And we've received a request today to produce comments to the ACC legislation by November the 9th. We're not meeting again till November the 9th, so I'm just adding the possibility that Paul might want to participate in the discussion about how do we
Yes.
meet that.
Good idea.
So when is the board's next planned meeting?
November.
Ninth.
Right.
The ninth, okay.
So have you gone?
No, you don't have.
This is a good one.
So you just said. Up to you, yeah, John.
I don't know, just a bit. Okay.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, what,
Future, the agenda items for November the 9th.
okay. On our agenda, items for November 9th, we, I'm losing my train of thought. What are we doing on November 9th?
I would say the draft of the report, you should think.
Um. I'm not sure if we will finish the deliberation on the ACC appointments.
But we still have to talk about the procedure, right? Talk about the procedures on November the 9th, the new procedures, or is that already been
That's
taken
for
care
the draft of ACC legislation will be on the 9th. And then because they already did the rules. So that and the comment about the draft, what,
Comments about
the draft of the annual report.
So
We have two comments that we have to get back. So comments on the draft of the ACC and the trial board, and the comments on the
Report.
report.
Yeah.
And this will be in the aftermath, have I got this right, of the, have I got the dates right, or am I missing, the public hearing?
No, so the comments, the draft of ACC legislation would be.
Oh, yeah, I am getting my dates conflated,
As
yeah.
well as the comments for the draft of the annual report.
Is there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
Do we think we're gonna be done with the ACC appointments by
I don't
that?
think so.
So probably,
So should
well,
I add that too?
as a possible, yeah,
Possibly, yeah.
placeholder, yeah.
We may, but I think it's pretty optimistic.
May I just ask a question about that? Do we have a process for this so that we can complete this tonight?
It was
Well, what did you say, Kim?
sent in the email.
Answer her, so I can, it's
It's
difficult for me to talk.
I'm sorry, what was her question?
Do we have a process?
Do we have a
when finish it
process?
Today, and I
So
think
that we
the
can-
answer, Ms. Wire,
do this
was that something was sent via email
What, the process for what? I'm sorry.
for finishing the ACC appointments today.
Today.
Like, how are we gonna go about doing that?
Yeah, so that's the whole purpose of going into the closed session, is to have that discussion. But I was waiting, so I think you guys are trying to set the
Agenda.
agenda for the
Correct.
future meeting, for the November 9th meeting before going into the closed session.
Right.
Correct.
So as soon
Okay.
as you all finish conducting open business and you go into the closed session.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So do we have
So
the,
we'll do the draft ACC legislation comments and revisions from what I was getting from you. And the draft annual report comments and revisions. And I guess if we don't get to finish the ACC, then I'll add that as the top priority for next meeting as well.
Yeah, I think a placeholder for whatever we still need to do with
Yeah.
respect to ACC appointments, yeah.
Okay, everyone in agreement to that?
yes, thank you.
That's fine.
Yes.
Well, there has to be,
Let's be that.
No, no, we have to vote.
Yeah,
yeah, so who moves? So those are the agenda items for the next meeting?
yes.
So someone has to move, get a second, and we should do a roll call with votes.
It's difficult when we talk, so.
Okay, I could do it for you.
I'll make the move.
Oh, well, I
Go
can't
ahead,
motion
Paul.
for you,
Yes,
but,
but
I make the move.
okay.
Shall I, the motion would be to set the agenda items as, ACC legislation comments, draft annual report, work, and a placeholder for ACC appointments.
right,
I second that.
did you get that, Ian?
Yeah.
It was the one, it's actually what you had said. Okay, can we vote, please?
Yes, Paul.
Mr. Vera, okay, Morales?
Who seconded the motion?
Mr. Morales,
Mr.
Mr.
Morales, okay.
Yes.
Ms.
And yes, for me.
Wire?
Yes.
Yeah, I vote yes, as you.
Thank you.
I moved it, can we move on now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the vote closed, so we're closed session?
No, wait.
No, not yet. I moved for us to move into a closed session for consideration, ACC deliberations.
Second.
Call for the question?
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
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 Ms. Wire?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so for the record, the board has unanimously voted to go into closed session at 7:06 PM on 10/18/2022 for the in conformance with, general provisions, Article 3305B1, which is to discuss an appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom the public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. So that is the code provision pursuant to which the the body is moving into a closed session.
Thank you.
We're closed now?
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you guys on the ninth.
All right.
I'll record now. Okay.
Session,
Can you give them a second?
oh, I'm sorry.
We're now in open session.
Greg, that's your box, right? That says.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I think we still
I
have.
just noticed.
I got it. Thank you.
That's okay. We're.
Thank you so much for staying.
Okay.
It's really- I got the business. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it doesn't bug me, but I just
Good.
thought.
Thank you so much.
And then I remembered.
The other night.
All right.
So we're in open session. One more time. All right, if there's no further business that I know of, so I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Call for the question, I say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So efficient. I appreciate it. Well, we are now closed. And